Greetings to the viewers of Freedom TV channel. You are watching Our Time. The top news at this hour, live from the studio, Valery Klemenko. On Saturday night, the Russian Federation launched a combined missile and drone strike on Kyiv. The Russians targeted the capital's energy infrastructure, but as before, residential buildings and civilians were affected. At this time, 28 people are known to have been injured, 2 of them children. 13 of the wounded have been hospitalized. According to city authorities, there's damage in 7 districts of Kyiv. The strikes damaged a depot, a dormitory of one of the universities, and a nursing home. Nearly 200 kindergartens, 138 schools, and 2,500 residential buildings were left without central heating. Hits on apartment buildings have been recorded, and fires have broken out. All necessary emergency services are working at the scene. In the Darnytskyi district of the capital, a drone struck a residential building. Several floors have been destroyed. There is no information about casualties yet. We'll clarify the details with our colleague Oleg Borisev, who is directly at the site of the strike. Oleg, hello. Tell us the details.
Oleg, glad to greet you and all our viewers. Yes, once again, drones have hit residential buildings, including in the Darnytskyi district. For those who don't know, let me explain. Darnytskyi district is a residential area. There are no military facilities here at all. And now I'll show you the aftermath at the site of the strike. Well, first of all, the damage is very severe. The cars were damaged. Almost all the cars parked along the building were affected, which is important to highlight. And it's worth noting, the residents responded quickly. Everyone is cleaning up the aftermath of the attack together with the utility workers. And now we can already see the aftermath on social media. There are a lot of photos and videos of the strike on this residential building. Technically, it's the 26th floor. People live from the 25th floor and below. No one was injured. They only experienced mild shock. But still, it's worth noting, and we can show you that absolutely everything around here. These are residential buildings, and there are no military facilities here, which once again proves the terror of the Russian occupiers. It's also worth noting, according to the information. As I mentioned earlier, there were no casualties. Only cars, housing, and utilities and apartments were damaged. The roof of this building I showed you is also damaged. There's a hole right through it. But utility workers have already come and are assessing the consequences of this strike, this attack. And of course, they're documenting everything and will be handing these cases over to the prosecutor's office to open criminal cases and investigations. If there's anything else worth adding, the air raid alert lasted for about 10 hours. And even when the utility services arrived here, you can see the trucks over there. Even while people were working here, those drones were still flying overhead. In other words, the attack continued even while they were already here cleaning up the aftermath of the drone and missile strike. The most important thing is that everyone is alive in the Darby district. I'm talking specifically about these houses. Everyone is alive, just shaken up. But now people have come together and are cleaning up the aftermath along with the utility services and law enforcement. So for now, all the information, the most important thing is that everyone is alive. And as the locals of this house say, we are not so easy to break. Valerie, you have the floor in the studio.
Yes, that's the most important thing. People are alive. Oleg, thanks for including us. Our colleague was in touch with us. Oleg Borisev. He spoke about the consequences of an attack on a residential building in one of the districts of Kyiv. One person was killed, 6 were injured. This was the result of a massive Russian attack on the energy infrastructure of the Kyiv region. More than 320,000 people were left without power. The towns and villages of the Borispil, Brovary, and Vyshgorod districts remain without electricity. In the Vyshgorod district, a child is among the injured. A total of 6 districts in the region are affected. They came under attack. Critical infrastructure facilities and residential buildings were damaged. Power engineers are currently working to restore electricity supply. Due to the massive missile strike on Ukraine by Russia, Poland has temporarily closed the Rzeszów and Lublin airports. Also, as reported by the country's university operations team, due to the Russian missile attack on Ukraine, Warsaw has scrambled its military aircraft. A heightened state of combat readiness has been declared. This was implemented in response to the activity of Russia's long-range aviation. Fighter jets were scrambled and are now on full alert. Ground-based air defense systems and radar reconnaissance were deployed to counter the threat. As noted by the operational command, these actions are preventive in nature and are aimed to protecting Poland's airspace, especially those areas adjacent to zones under threat. Russian representatives engage in lengthy talks, but in reality, it's the Kinzhals and Shaheds that do the talking for them. President Volodymyr Zelenskyy responded to the massive attack. This strike demonstrates Putin and his inner circle's true attitude toward the peace process, the Ukrainian leader is convinced.
They do not want to end the war and are trying to use every opportunity to inflict more pain on Ukraine and increase their pressure on others around the world. And this means that the response pressure is not enough. If Russia even turns Christmas and New Year's into a time of destroyed homes and burned out apartments, ruined power plants, then this painful activity can only be answered with truly strong actions. America has this capability. Europe has this capability. Many of our partners have this capability. The main thing is to use it. And it is also important to continue supporting Ukraine's defense. Deliveries for air defense must be sufficient and timely, especially now when we need it. Diplomacy won't work without security. Volodymyr Zelenskyy, President of Ukraine, on Telegram.
Putin deliberately gave the order for massive bombardments of residential areas and key infrastructure sites in Kyiv, at the very moment when the leaders of Ukraine and the U.S. are preparing for the meeting and advancement of the peace process. This was stated by Ukraine's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Andriy Sybigan. According to him, Russia's only response to the peace effort is brutal attacks using hundreds of drones and missiles against Kyiv and other cities and regions. Putin must realize that further refusal of peace will cost him and his regime very dearly. The United States, Europe, and other partners have the necessary leverage to increase this cost, both for the Russian economy and for its losses on the battlefield. Russia must face a sharp increase in both, while Ukraine continues to act very constructively and actively cooperate with the United States and other partners in seeking real solutions to end the war. Pressure on Moscow needs to be increased right now. There can be no pauses in the pressure on Russia. Assistance in strengthening Ukraine's air defense and supporting our energy resilience. Andriy Sybiha, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, on the social network X. Over the past day, 4 people were killed and 7 injured in Kharkiv in the region, including a 9-month-old baby. These are the consequences of a strike by Russia. The enemy attacked with glide bombs and drones. As a result of the attack, cars, windows in 10 apartment buildings, and city lighting were damaged. In the city of Lazova, the evacuation center received 76 people in one day. In total, more than 15,000 people have been registered there. During the day, Russia carried out drone and bomb strikes on industrial and port infrastructure in the Odessa region. This was reported by the head of the Regional Military Administration, Ole Keeper. According to him, despite most enemy targets being destroyed by Ukrainian air defense forces, equipment for transporting grain was damaged on the territory of the grain elevator. There were no deaths or injuries. A drone crash was also recorded on the territory of a vegetable oil production facility. Relevant services are working at the scene. Law enforcement officers are documenting evidence of war crimes committed by the aggressor country. There is a good chance for a peaceful deal, according to U.S. President Donald Trump. He made this statement on the eve of Volodymyr Zelensky's visit to Florida. It is expected that the Ukrainian and American presidents will meet there on Sunday. Donald Trump noted that there is a chance to reach a peace agreement. However, the negotiations will remain difficult due to disagreements between the parties. The U.S. president added that Ukraine and Russia are aiming for a peaceful resolution, but are acting with caution. The Élysée Palace reported that there are no plans for a phone conversation between French President Emmanuel Macron and Kremlin head Putin in the near future. Macron's office clarified that there have not been such talks recently, and as of today, none are scheduled. They also noted that Macron is not planning a trip to Moscow. Let me remind you, on December 19th, the President of France spoke in favor of finding ways for Europeans to re-engage in dialogue with Russia in a transparent manner and in cooperation with Ukraine.
Subscribe to The Gaze and stay updated on the most important events, top news from Ukraine and all over the world, in-depth analysis, exclusive reports and interviews, all on hand in our channel. Join our community of viewers and stay tuned.